Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we've got a lot of stuff to go over regarding the Ravens and the Orioles. With the Ravens, they had their first joint practice of this training camp. It was against the Colts, who they are going to be playing on Thursday in the preseason game. A lot of the stuff that happened today in the joint practices. A lot of the players, at least for the Ravens that played today in the main joint practice, are not going to be playing in the Thursday preseason game because obviously the Ravens are really not going to play any of their starters, such as like Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, the guys like that. The Colts are going to be playing some of the starters because they are in like a little bit of a QB battle between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. But the Ravens and Colts had a joint practice today, and there's a lot of different reviews and just stuff that happened throughout the joint practice that I want to go over. Just a lot of stuff that happened. Reports from Jamison Hensley, who is one of the Ravens reporters. He was live tweeting out the practice while he was watching it live because again, it wasn't something that was like streamed or really recorded for the public. It was really something that only like you're kind of just like following along from reporters and seeing what they say. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to go over there. There's some ups, there's some downs, there's some stuff like that. But at the same time, that happens in that tends to happen in joint practices where you just try and get game ready, like actually like NFL game ready, because there's a difference between just practicing a practice and then actual NFL game ready practices. But this was really like the first test of like an NFL game ready practice of this training camp so far, so it's going to help the Ravens a lot throughout the rest of training camp. But we are going to be going over that. We're going to be recapping all of the highlight moments throughout that joint practice from what we know, and then we're also going to be going over the Orioles and Phillies game 2 of this series, where unfortunately the Orioles lost today. They lost 5-0. They got shut out, and that also means that they lost this series because they already dropped the first 2 of 3 games, and they have to try and salvage the series tomorrow and try to avoid getting swept tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, they get swept. If they win, at least they avoid getting swept. But the Orioles offense has been horrible since the trade deadline, like actually horrible since the trade deadline. And I guess it makes sense because you trade, honestly, your 2 most productive hitters this entire season and your 2 home run leaders as well. So that's what happens when you trade guys like Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano and Cedric Mullins. The guys who are actually like really, really producing this season, you trade them away, and this is what happens. Samuel Basallo hit another home run today in AAA. It just seems like every single day that the Orioles have a horrible offensive day, it always seems like Samuel Basallo or Dylan Beavers is going crazy in AAA at the exact same time. And if you go to the Birds of Feather Twitter, you can click the link in bio of whatever platform you're listening on to go check out. If you go look at the Twitter, I was like the MLB Pipeline like posted Samuel Basallo hitting the home run. And I literally was like, please Orioles, please. Like, please call this guy up, man. Like, give us something to look forward to because, again, right now, Orioles baseball is a little bit bleak. Obviously, wins and losses really don't matter for the rest of the season. You're kind of really wanting to watch, like, player development and guys like Kobe Mayo and stuff like that, and just the younger guys like Gunnar and Jordan and Adley and Jackson and all these guys. But the offense just hasn't been doing anything at all. The pitching has been extremely inconsistent. Dean Kramer got the start today. He didn't have a great day, but I mean, it didn't matter how good the pitching was when your offense scores 0 runs. So we're going to go over that a little bit later in this episode, but I first want to start off by talking about this Ravens joint practice. And the first thing that I want to go over regarding the Ravens joint practice, and Jamison Hensley, who works for, is like a Ravens reporter for Baltimore, he did have a lot of this stuff, and he was tweeting out stuff throughout the joint practice and while it was going on. But I do want to start off with the first thing that I see here, and it says, Lamar Jackson produced his first big highlight of Ravens-Colts practice when he rolls to his right and throws across his body to complete a 15-yard pass to Rashad Bateman in the middle of the field. Hashtag classic Lamar. I mean, that is classic Lamar, as we know. So again, first little tweet that happened, and again, these are actually in order of kind of when they happened throughout the joint practice when it was going on, because reporters and are allowed in and stuff like that, but they don't really record it for the public. The Ravens did take some pictures and post some pictures and post also a little highlight that TJ Tampa had on a pass deflection on Anthony Richardson, so they can post little things like that, but it's not like something that's streamed like the stadium practice the other day. Joint practices are very secretive in a way because you don't really know what happens. You're kind of learning what's happening through like tweets, and that's what we're having to do right now. But Lamar Jackson, first big highlight, thrown across his body to complete a 15-yard pass to Rashad Bateman. You love to see that stuff. And then this one, in 7v7s, Lamar Jackson hit Zay Flowers on a nice 10-yard out and threw a 15-yard back shoulder pass to D-Hop. Jackson later overthrew Rashad Bateman to a deep pass. So it's nice to see him giving it to Zay. Nice to see him giving it to D-Hop. Obviously, I think that this DeAndre Hopkins, the DeAndre Hopkins edition is going to just be such a vital role in this offense, I think, especially with Isaiah likely potentially out for week 1, and just throughout the season as well, like what DeAndre Hopkins is going to be able to do. Again, someone that is going to be reliable for Lamar to go to, somebody who is a seasoned veteran, the most seasoned veteran that you can possibly have on this offense. Him and Derrick Henry know what it's like to be in this league, and DeAndre Hopkins just going out there and doing the simple things correctly. You don't need him to go out there and get like 150 yards a game like he had back in Houston. You just need him to be able to do the simple things, and it's really like a key vital part that really just completes the offense as a whole. It's kind of like the same thing in basketball where, like in basketball, if you're like a super young team and you have all this talent, but they're not necessarily super seasoned veterans, having that like key veteran guy coming off the bench can really just complete a championship team. And I think that that's what DeAndre Hopkins is going to do for the Ravens this season. So that's some more good news going on in this game. The next thing is the top moment in the red zone drills for the Ravens, and apparently from what I saw, when the Ravens, because again, when you do joint practices, it's like you do 11 on 11, you do 7 on 7, and then both teams will do offense and defense. They'll go back and forth and do whatever, but they'll also do like red zone periods where you'll kind of be at the 20 or the 25-yard line, and you'll just do red zone periods right there, or you'll do goal line periods as well where you're sitting at like the 10 or the 5, and they kind of just move it around depending on what team it is, but they just do red zone drills. And then it said the top moment in the red zone drill from the Ravens was that Lamar Jackson throwing in a tight window to hit Mark Andrews in the end zone. Not a surprise considering Andrews led all NFL tight ends last year with 11 touchdowns. And I think that that's something that a lot of people forget. I think that the outlook on Mark Andrews is very low compared to what it's been over the past few years, because consistently Mark Andrews has always been looked at as such a respectable tight end in the NFL, always up there with some of the top tight ends, guys like George Kittle and Travis Kelce, throughout like 2021 and 2020, like 3 or 4 even. Mark Andrews has always been looked at as one of the better tight ends in the NFL, always consistently looked at as a minimum top 5, top 4 tight end in the NFL for multiple years. And again, last year, everybody knows what happened in the Bills playoff game. We understand the drop in the red zone. Sorry, not even in the red zone. We understand the drop in the end zone. That could have potentially, that would have brought this game to a tie game and potentially to overtime, and who knows what would happen there. And then he also fumbled the ball as well in that game. So we understand the struggles in that Bills game because he messed up a lot in that game, and a lot of the blame does get put on him, rightfully so. But overall, last season, he did not have a horrible year. Like, he didn't put up like 1,100 yards or something like that, but he, had a decent amount of yards. And again, people don't know this and people don't put this into fruition, is that Mark Andrews last year was in a car accident during training camp, and he sat out of a lot of training camp last year as he recovered from the car accident. It wasn't considered major, but he just did not practice a lot in training camp last year. Like, he was not present in training camp for a lot of last season going into last year, and that's why over the first like 4 or 5 or even 6 weeks last season, it took a little bit for Mark Andrews to really get going. He was out there on the field, but his snap count was not nearly what it usually has been. Him and Isaiah likely ended up splitting a lot of the count last year, but Mark Andrews last year started off extremely slow, and he still led all tight ends with 11 touchdown catches last year. When it comes to the end zone, when it comes to the red zone as well, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, and Lamar said this before, they're like peanut butter and jelly. Lamar Jackson knows what Mark Andrews wants. Mark Andrews knows what Lamar Jackson wants. Mark has been Lamar's only target that has consistently stayed on his team throughout his career. Lamar Jackson has had receivers like Hollywood Brown, for example, who eventually left very soon after we drafted him. You had guys like Sammy Watkins. Like, Lamar has gone through so many different receivers, but Mark Andrews has always been the most consistent and reliable guy that Lamar's had throughout his entire career. And there were so many moments last year as well where that was the case. And as I was saying, I think what Mark Andrews' reputation is now is obviously a lot lower because of what happened in that playoff game, how embarrassing it was, and how impactful it was as well. But I think people are forgetting that Mark Andrews is still a dog. Mark Andrews is still a great tight end, and just because he had one extremely horrible game with lots of mistakes, I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying that Mark Andrews is still a great tight end. He's getting a little bit older, sure, but Mark Andrews is still a great tight end. Him and Isaiah Likely, when they're both healthy, are so unbelievably good for this offense, and by far the best tight end duo in the NFL, and it's not even close. But Mark Andrews is still a great tight end, and he's somebody who has been playing very well in this training camp, and he's playing with a very big chip on his shoulder with how he's being looked at around the league, with what happened in the playoffs last year, and especially if we come to week 1, and Mark Andrews is really the only tight end out there with guys with Charlie Kolar as well, but if Mark Andrews is out there and Isaiah Likely is not playing, Mark Andrews is going to have a significant role in that Bills game, and he's going to have a real chance to, obviously not make up for it, because again, it was a playoff game compared to a regular season game, and a game 1 regular season game as well, but he'll have a chip on his shoulder, and he would want to maybe get a little bit of get back in Buffalo again, just some extra motivation to put on the fire. But Mark Andrews is still a dog. He's still a dog. He's still a great player, and I just think a lot of people forget that, and I really hope that he goes out there this season and shows people, especially in the end zone, and especially in the red zone as well, that he is still that guy. So it's nice to see Lamar Jackson still finding Mark Andrews again. Bread and butter. These guys know each other so well, and it's nice to see them connecting. And this was a very big part of something when I was reading it. First fight of Ravens-Colts during practice just occurred. Ravens backup cornerback Kenyon Martin delivered a late push on a Colts player. When the Colts player retaliated, Nate Wiggins ran off the sideline and delivered several uppercuts. Both sidelines cleared. Zach Orr getting these guys right. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to have fights all the time, but it is very nice to see that this Ravens defense has each other's back. Nate Wiggins, again, having his brother's back. Kenyon Martin, another cornerback in this room. Nate Wiggins being able to go out there and stand up for him and delivering several uppercuts to a Colts player. The way that this is worded is just so funny, hearing several uppercuts. I can just imagine it in my head. But Nate Wiggins was out there, did his thing, got into a little bit of a fight. He did get ejected from practice as well. I don't know if this was in the middle or later on in practice, but all I know is that Nate Wiggins did get ejected out of the training camp. He did get to sit on the sidelines and continue to watch, but he could not practice. So I don't know exactly when this happened, but it is nice to see that Zach Orr has these guys right. The mentality is there. They want to stand up for each other. That is something that's good to see. Again, even if this is a joint practice that nobody sees, it's nice to see Nate Wiggins going out there and still standing up for the people that are on his team, and that's just all around great to see from him. And then you can see here, Ravens cornerback Nate Wiggins, who ran off the sideline to deliver punches on Colts running back Tyler Goodson, is now watching practice from inside the facility. So again, he didn't have to go home. He got to continue to watch practice, but he stood up for his teammate. And at the end of the day, when you have the type of mentality, that's something that's going to carry a long way, especially later on in the season and the tight moments of the year. It really shows the brotherhood that this defense has, that Zach Orr is getting these guys right. Let me go to he's really just been the star of the show recently. Ravens kicker Tyler Loop went 7 for 7 away. Went 7 for 7 today. He hit from 28, 33, 38, 41, 44, and 55. Tyler Loop continues to just be so good for the Ravens, especially recently. I talked about it the other day when we had stadium practice when he hit all 9 of his field goals. Today he hit all 7 of his field goals, and Tyler Loop is heating up and looking to potentially be a rookie star kicker for the Ravens this season. Then we got another one, and this was very, very fun to see. It said, at joint practice with the Colts, Lamar Jackson stretched the field with throws to tight end Charlie Kolar and hit Mark Andrews twice for nice TDs in the red zone. But Jackson's day ended with an interception and a 2-minute drill. So, again, there is going to be mistakes. You're not going to go out there and just be perfect all the time. You are going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to go out there, you're going to do your thing, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have your good moments, and you learn from them. But this is a learning experience. That's why you do joint practices. The backups and whoever's going to be playing in the game on Thursday at the preseason is going to be able to learn from this. But this is a learning experience at the end of the day. And it's nice to see that Lamar is throwing to Charlie Kolar. From what I heard, Charlie Kolar had a great day today. Him and Mark Andrews both had great days. So Lamar Jackson really loving throwing to those tight ends. He's always had that mentality and that mindset throughout his career, and he continues here in 2025 joint practice. Another thing is that Kyle Hamilton was not actually playing today. It said that it's one of those camp deals. It does not sound serious. So, again, sometimes in training camp when there's like a minor injury, you kind of just hold them out for precautionary reasons. You don't want it to boil over and turn into something serious. And with someone like Isaiah Likely already hurt right now, you don't want to have an injury on Kyle Hamilton for sure. I mean, Kyle Hamilton is the best player on this defense. Him and Roquan Smith obviously lead this defense to the promised land and to victory, especially on the defensive end. But it was one of those camp deals, not a serious injury for Kyle Hamilton, just sitting out for precautionary reasons, confirmed by John Harbaugh, so there's nothing really too much to worry about there. Hopefully it doesn't flare up and become anything crazy, but for right now there is nothing really to worry about. And here's actually a picture of Tyler Loop, with Jordan Stout holding the ball for him. Tyler Loop made all 7 of his field goals today. ESPN on NFL and ESPN actually posts about it, so they're showing respect to Tyler Loop, who could potentially be a star in his rookie season. So that's going to be exciting to watch, and it's also going to be exciting to watch him on Thursday as well, make some kicks in a live game scenario. And then the last thing I want to close off with the Ravens is they did post some pictures of the joint practices with the Colts. As you can see here, Derrick Henry with the ball here, with some Colts players in the background here. But Derrick Henry getting the ball there. Nice little photo, Derrick. Then you got Marlon Humphrey. Then you got Charlie Kolar making a nice catch. And then you got Ronnie Stanley out there as well. So some nice photos from Colts joint practice. Again, at the end of the day, this is a joint practice. This is a friendly deal at the end of the day. These two teams are going to be playing each other on Thursday, and I cannot wait to go over that preseason game. It's going to be the first Ravens game recap we're going to have on this podcast, so that's going to be a lot of fun. It is preseason. I know some of y'all might not care, but it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It is a Ravens game, and you got to be locked for that at all times. But now we take a little bit of a mood change and we go over the Baltimore Orioles game versus the Philadelphia Phillies, where the Orioles lose this game 5-0. They get shut out for who God knows how many times this season they've been shut out. But the Orioles lose this game. They're 51-63 on the season. They're back to being 12 games below 500. Back to reality for the Baltimore Orioles, I guess. They had 5 total hits on the day today, scored 0 runs on 5 hits. Went 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position, and obviously left all 5 guys on base. But going over the offense, Jackson Holliday 0 for 4. Jackson Holliday recently has not been doing great. His slugging goes below 400 now. His on-base percentage sits at a low 300, and his average is at a 254. And recently, Jackson Holliday has not been great. Has not been great for the Orioles recently. The home runs are still sitting at kind of where they have been. But if we go to Jackson Holliday's recent games, they have not been too great. In the month of August so far, it's only been 5 games in the month of August. He's sitting at a little bit below a 125 average. So not a great month of August so far. In the month of July, he was batting a 270. At the beginning of the month, he was doing great, but 0 for 4, 1 for 5, 0 for 4, 1 for 3. Against Toronto, at the end of July, he went 2 for 5 with 2 runs scored, but hasn't necessarily done anything too crazy recently. Again, he is young. I'm not sitting here saying that he needs to go out there and have some insane MVP type numbers, but he just hasn't been doing too well recently, and a little bit of a slump. Just something to watch out for. Jordan Westburg in this game was the only Orioles player with multiple hits in this game. He went 2 for 3. Gunnar Henderson went 0 for 4. Adley Rutschman went 1 for 4. Tyler O'Neill went 0 for 2, and then got subbed out due to wrist discomfort. So another injury for Tyler O'Neill added onto the list. He just cannot stay healthy, man. I mean, when he's out there, he's doing his thing. He's doing all right when he's out there. Especially recently, he's been doing pretty well when he's actually been on the field. But another injury for Tyler O'Neill. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into something that's going to maybe end his season. Maybe it will. I don't know. Hopefully, he's ready for 2026. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're gearing up for. And Tyler O'Neill with right wrist discomfort. That's like his 4th injury this season. Potentially might be going back on IL. Who knows? But it is just unfortunate. Colton Cowser in this game goes 0 for 3. Jeremiah Jackson goes 1 for 3. Kobe Mayo goes 1 for 3. And Dylan Carlson goes 0 for 3. Nice to see guys like Kobe Mayo and Jeremiah Jackson getting hits. Nice to see Jordan Westburg get multiple hits. But again, there's nothing good to say about this offense. I mean, we scored 0 runs. What do you want me to say? Like, what do you want me to say about the offense? We scored 0 runs. So, I mean, there's not really anything that I could say that's too positive about this offense. We scored 0 runs. But when it goes over to the pitching, again, the pitching didn't even really matter because, again, we scored 0 runs, and you can't win a game when you score 0 runs. But Dean Kramer gets the loss in this game, 8-8 on the season, got through 6 innings of work, gave up 8 hits, 1 walk, and 4 runs, and had 6 strikeouts in the process as well. And 103 pitch count across 6 innings, got worked a little bit. ERA went up a little bit to a 4.35. Not the best game by Dean Kramer, but again, nothing matters when your offense scores 0 runs. Grant Wolfram didn't give up a run, and then Geraldo gave up a home run in the 8th inning. And the Orioles lose this game 5-0. They get shut out. They get embarrassed once again, and they once again lose another series. And now we go into Game 3 of this series tomorrow with the GOAT Trevor Rogers on the mound versus Ranger Suarez. Both pitchers are having incredible seasons. Ranger Suarez, a 2.68 ERA across 100 innings. And Trevor Rogers with a 1.44 ERA and a .75 WHIP across 56 innings worked. So this is going to be the second game in a row that Trevor Rogers is going to be playing a really good team. His last outing, where he went 8 innings and gave up only 1 run, was against the Cubs, and he was excellent in that game. But now he's going to be going against an even better offense in the Philadelphia Phillies. And if he can go out there tomorrow, make a statement, and play incredible like he has been this season, then there's going to have to be some serious conversations about Trevor Rogers, and people are going to have to stop disrespecting the man because he's been excellent this season, and he has a chance to really prove himself in tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's game is early, so I'll have the episode up sometime tomorrow earlier in the day because the game is at 11:35 in the morning. So I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow talking about this game. But yeah, Orioles lose this series. Game 3 tomorrow. Hopefully they don't get swept. Hopefully Trevor Rogers can go out there and have a nice revenge game, or not even a revenge game. Just have a nice, good old statement game. That is what I'm watching this game really for. Is to watch for Trevor Rogers continue to do his thing. Hopefully he can continue to do well, and just prove even more of a reason why he's going to be such a vital part of this Orioles lineup going into 2026. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. And if you want more content like this, make sure to follow the Twitter and follow the Instagram. Just click the link in bio of whatever platform you're listening on. Make sure to give those a follow. I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow talking about the Orioles game in Game 3 and also anything Ravens related that comes up as well. So see you guys tomorrow. You have a great rest of y'all's day. Thank you guys for everything. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.